Audiophiles, wouldn't you love a tube turntable? You think I'm kidding and this is going to be a kind of what-if video. Or maybe it's about some kind of software emulation. Well, no, I'm talking about an actual physical product. I have to say that I don't have one and I don't think it's even available yet. I'm not all that sure it's not an early April Fool. But I'll presume, hopefully, that it isn't, and this product will actually appear on the market sometime soon. Ish. Hooray, say some viewers. He doesn't have the product, so no unboxing and no irritating unboxing music. Drat and double drat. Don't worry, I'll give you something to listen to in the end credits. I'm going to assume from the start that since many audiophiles and enthusiasts like tubes, call them valves if you want to maintain your British stiff upper lip. Anyway, keeping calm and carrying on. Yes, if tube preamplifiers are popular, tube power amplifiers are popular, if, I'm going to say, the output stages are tube. And who doesn't love a Revox G36 from the past? Tubes all the way. And of course electric guitarists like tubes, but that's an entirely different story, perhaps for another day. What if, dear viewer, you don't like tubes? Well, sit back, watch the video and have a laugh, comfy and coddled in your solid state sense of superiority. So, assuming you're a tube lover, then because you don't right now have a tube turntable, you'll want to see the product. And here it is, the Korg Handytraxx Tube 2Xs. Don't click away. Okay, why would you click away even? Well, you're at least a hi-fi enthusiast and maybe an audiophile. And you know perfectly well that Korg products are predominantly aimed at the musical instrument or MI market, primarily keyboards. But be reassured, Korg doesn't stop there. Here's a Korg product you might like. Yes, it's digital and I suppose a keyboard of sorts. But let's look closer at the Handytraxx Tube. There are, I have to tell you, some features that are not particularly audiophile. Firstly, look, the platter is tiny. I don't see the diameter in the specification, but I can't believe it's more than 8 or 9 inches. Neither do I see a spec for the maximum size of record it can play. But surely it can manage an LP. I'm going to assume that it can and does. Don't quote me, but look at this pic. Next, it's hard to know what to pick. It's a portable. Come on, since when has any audiophile gear been portable? Okay, the Atlant SP3000, the Woo Audio WA8, the Chord Hugo 2, and of course high-end headphones. I'm judging whether these items are audiophile quality by the price, of course. That's what audiophiles do, isn't it? But an audiophile or enthusiast level portable turntable, I don't see many of these about. Any. So we have a couple of downsides for audiophiles. But the upsides are that the cartridge is replaceable, by which of course I mean potentially upgradable. The tracking force can be adjusted. Come on, that should be a given. But in this modern hipster age, there are turntables that are just plug in and go. No adjustments to be made, or even available to be made. Anti-skating, that's another feature that hipster turntables lack. I think I might have just invented a new category there, hipster turntables. We can put Crosley and the like in it. I can't see an anti-skating adjustment. Call it bias if you like. It may be the case that it's designed into the arm, but then it wouldn't be adjustable if you changed the cartridge. I'll leave that as a ponderable for now. Let's take a bird's eye view. We see tone controls. I'm not going to argue. You'll probably need them for the built-in speakers. Built-in speakers, if you use them. A tube control. I'll guess that controls the drive for the tubes, so you can get as much distortion as floats your boat. Other stuff that I'll leave for now. But 3 speeds, 33, 45, 78. Great. But what do we know about 78s? We know that they need a different stylus, or the cartridge should be a flipper, which this is not. Worry not. I said earlier that the cartridge is replaceable. Well, the whole head shell can be removed. So with a spare head shell, which I presume you'll be able to buy as an accessory, you can have your 78 cartridge, possibly ceramic, ready to whip out at any time you want to listen to your vintage George Formby's and Ted Heaths, or maybe even the Beatles. They were available on 78 in the early days. Okay, there's more to say, but I'll leave that until if and when I get one of these to review. So if this is a tube turntable, then there must be tubes, right? Well, not in the conventional sense, and it rather depends on what you understand the word tube to mean. You may, of course, regard the word tube to mean something that's cylindrical. But even with conventional tubes, not all are. I'd call this a tube, for example. Here's another one. So now that we know that not all tubes are actually tubular or made of glass, we can look at Korg's take on tubes, the Korg new tube. OK, you can read this for yourself through the link in the description. I know nothing more than I see here, but I can summarise. What we're seeing here is a vacuum fluorescent display put to a different use. You have seen vacuum fluorescent displays, if you're over 40, 50 maybe. If I can summarise the summary of this, there's a cathode, a vacuum and an anode, just like a tube. OK, it's a display, but apparently radio amateurs have been known to adapt them as amplifiers. That's a bit like many years ago when I fiddled with electronics. It was possible to use a CMOS digital logic chip in an analog audio circuit by biasing it carefully. Not too much benefit, so I found, but isn't fiddling about with stuff the whole point of life? So the new tube, in principle, I like it. I like anything that's new. Well, at least I'd give it a try. And I will if Korg sends me a Handytraxx tube to have a play with. What I imagine the sound will be is pretty much like a conventional glass tube. There's a region where the characteristic of a tube is fairly linear, which means that decent quality audio can be produced without crazy feedback, which is why tube-ish audiophiles often sneer at transistors. But also there are regions just beyond the linear part that pass over into non-linearity smoothly and gradually. Again, not like the transistor, which is either linear because of feedback or grossly distorting. Obviously, there's more to it than that, but this is what I see as the gist. And if this is the gist for conventional tubes, it seems at first sight it could be true for new tubes too. You may pause and comment on new tubes now. It all seems so promising. So what's the fly in your osso buco? Well, this would apply to any turntable-based system that incorporates any kind of tube. The $64,000 question, $91,000 for my Canadian viewers, is where do the tubes go? To answer this, we have to consider the question of why tubes in the first place. I could suggest a number of scientific or practical responses, but I suspect the real reason for many tube enthusiasts is, well, let me put it like this, in quotes. Vacuum tubes have a metaphysical role in audio, offering an intangible warmth and depth that's not easily captured by measurements, but is unmistakably felt by listeners. I think that's fair. So how does this apply to the Handytraxx tube and audiophile turntables? I nearly said other audiophile turntables, but I caught that before transmission. My outsider's opinion answer to the question where do the tubes go, and I'll be happy to be corrected on this if necessary, the tubes, new tubes, here are a bolt-on. There's a complete audio circuit from cartridge to output that would work just fine without them, or a bit of wire instead. But they've been added either in series or in parallel to add some kind of tubey goodness. As is common with a number of the products I've reviewed lately, not intrinsically tube, but tubes bolted on. As I said, this is my suspicion, my opinion, and not confirmed. This may also be the case if your audiophile turntable and cartridge drive a tube preamp. Is your tube preamp intrinsically tube or bolt-on? I'm going to take this a step further, in general and outside of this particular turntable. The output of a moving magnet cartridge, any cartridge in fact, but let's go with the most common, the output of a moving magnet cartridge needs a special preamp both because of its low output, its requirement to feed into a specific impedance, and the need to equalize the signal according to the RIAA curve. RIAA, as you know, the low frequencies on a vinyl record are around 40 dB down compared to the high, for reasons that are entirely practical. And this must be corrected in the preamp. So where do the tubes go? I'm going to say that if the initial stage, including RIAA equalization, is done with transistors or integrated circuits, and the tubes are present only in the output stage, then it's not as tubey, tube-ish as I would like. For the metaphysics I mentioned earlier. Perhaps not for the best audio specifications, but that's not the point. OK, I can accept if the tubes are the final output stage of the preamp. That could be tubey enough. Yes, I know, I'm stirring up a can of worms here, or maybe a den of rattlesnakes. Maybe even I'm opening a Pandora's box. But I have to ask the question, what exactly is a tube turntable? Or a tube turntable preamp? At this point, over to you. Disregarding price and value for money for the moment, would the Korg Handytraxx tube interest you? Would a tube turntable interest you if it came from a known audiophile brand? And what, exactly, is a tube preamp? See you soon.
My lute may be small, but